nombre del Padre, y del Hijo, y del Espíritu Santo. La paz esté con vosotros. Queridos hermanos, nos hemos reunidos en esta casa de la Madre Común, Nuestra Señora de la Almudena, para celebrar el misterio pascual y reconocer el heroico testimonio de fe de los mártires que hoy la Iglesia nos propone como modelos.
Y aquí tenemos el momento en el que se descubre la pintura de los nuevos beatos mientras se va a cantar la aclamación. Familiares de los 23 mártires, ahí les tenemos el momento en el que evidentemente todos aplauden. ¡Qué juventud la de todos! Ellos nos hemos enterado también de que muchos no tenían ni 20 años, no llegaban a los 20 años y no apostataron de su fe.
Como cardenal arzobispo de Madrid he pedido humildemente a su santidad el Papa Benedicto XVI que se den inscribir en el número de los beatos a los siervos de Dios, Francisco Esteban Lacal y 21 compañeros de la congregación de los misioneros Oblates de María Inmaculada y al seglar don Cándido Castán. Por haber sido inmolado en el mismo acto martirial, forman parte de una misma comunidad religiosa, aunque fueron martirizados en distintos días y lugares.
Junto a la cuna del niño Jesús, con María, José y los pastores, están en primera fila para contemplar al Redentor los 23 mártires españoles acabados de beatificar.
La congregación de los misioneros Oblates de María Inmaculada y todos los miembros de la familia Oblata queremos dejar patente nuestra gratitud, en primer lugar, a Dios, por dignarse glorificar a estos nuestros hermanos. Asimismo, queremos dar las más sentidas gracias al Santo Padre. Permítanme mencionar a 2 obispos oblatos aquí presentes, que representan a los 45 prelados oblatos esparcidos por el mundo, un cardenal y varios arzobispos y obispos que trabajan por la extensión del reino de Dios en Europa, África, Asia y América. Todos ellos están bien representados por Monseñor Miguel Pfeiffer, obispo de San Angelo, Texas, y Monseñor Ramiro Díaz Sánchez, obispo emérito del Vicariato Apostólico de Machiques en Venezuela, nacido en una parroquia de donde proceden 2 mártires.
Welcome to all our viewers of OMI World Facebook page around the world. We are here speaking basically from Rome. And today is a very special day for all of us, the Oblates and the Oblate family as a whole, because today, the 17th of December, was the day that Oblates of Martyrs in Spain were beatified exactly 9 years ago in 2011. And here with me to speak more on the Oblate Martyrs of Spain, with me there are some really, some resource people that you will be privileged to listen to. First of all, let me welcome Father Fabio Ciardi, OMI, who is the director of the director of the General Service of Oblate Studies. And also here with me is Father Diego Saez, who just appeared to you, who is
Hello.
Postulator General here. Of course, 3 of us are here in the General House here in Rome. He has accepted his work probably how many months now, Diego?
1 year by now.
Exactly. 1 year. Yeah, he's doing an amazing job. And also we have another special person, Father David Lopez, who is the secretary to the provincial of the Mediterranean province. And also he's a writer. We'll speak more about him a bit later. Welcome, Father David. So it is really nice that three of you are here with me to speak more about the Spanish martyrs of the Oblates of Mary Immaculate. Of course, many Oblates around the world, almost everyone we have heard, we know. But then let me introduce in short who they are. These Oblate martyrs were in Spain, in Madrid, in Pozuelo. They were basically living in the scholasticate building, and they were martyred. Of course, the reasons and so as to the other things we will discuss during the meeting in 1936. And that is basically a little bit of an introduction, and they died for their faith, not giving into apostasy. So that is what is special about them, knowing that there is a danger, knowing that they can be killed. They lived their life as Christians, as Catholics, as Oblates, and as an Oblate community, most often. Let me now ask, three of you or four of you, were you there, Diego, at the moment of the beatification 9 years ago? Father Fabio, were you there? Diego?
I had the grace of coming to Madrid for being there during the ceremony. I was serving as missionary in Turkmenistan, but my community decided to send me as the representative of the community in Turkmenistan, of the Catholic Church and the Oblate Mission in Turkmenistan.
That's wonderful. Father Fabio? I think you will have to unmute your microphone. Yeah. We don't hear you yet. Not yet.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now. Yes.
Okay. So I said I was at work. I was in Mumbai, India.
Oh.
I was attending a conference on the interreligious dialogue with the Hindus.
Okay.
So I was very close to the other missionaries
I'm sure you were. And David, were you attending the beatification 9 years ago, exactly like a day like today?
Yes, I was there. I was in Rome at this time. I was recently sent to Rome as formator, but I went back to Madrid to participate in the beatification with a group of scholastics from Vermicino. It was really a great experience.
That's wonderful. Of course, not only three of these great people, we have another oblate who is connected to this particular discussion. Of course, I must admit that he is not live right here with us, but Father Frank Santucci, the very much known oblate around the world for his work as a postulator some time ago, and right now he is in San Antonio, Texas, as a professor, and he's here with us on video. He will also share his experience on that day about the beatification. And over to you, Father Frank.
Hello, everyone. And thank you for the invitation to be able to join you for this event. Father Diego invited me because for a number of years I was postulator general in Rome, and I was involved with the cause of the Spanish martyrs in various ways. And so I was invited to share some memories and to share with you something of who the Oblate martyrs are for me. Rather than have you sitting there looking at me talking, I did a very quick PowerPoint presentation to accompany what I want to say. My first introduction to the Spanish martyrs was when I went to Pozuelo in the year 2000 to learn Spanish. and I stayed in this house where the martyrs had been, where they were arrested. And one of the things that made the greatest impression was how the scholastics of that time, of which Father Diego was one, told with such emotion the events that had happened in that very house. And what stayed in my mind was the statue of Jesus that the militiamen had taken up to the top of the stairs and tried to smash. And all that they did was smash the floor. And this made an impact on me on what the faith of the martyrs was all about. They could kill all this community, but the faith and the presence of Jesus would never die. Basically, I was a bridge when it came to being postulator in this cause, because it was my predecessor, Father Jim Fitzpatrick, who had the role of cooperating with the Spanish Oblates who had started the cause and who were doing all the research. And he produced the Oblate Heritage series, which put the story of the martyrs into focus and did so in English. And then the one who succeeded me, Father Joaquin Martinez, he was basically the one who was so powerful in that cause, because he had been provincial of Spain, he had been novice master, and then he came to Rome and he took over as my successor. And this was really the high point of his life, was to be able to successfully conclude the Roman phase of the beatification of the Oblate martyrs. He had a passion and an enthusiasm that no one would ever forget. I was privileged to be in that cathedral in Madrid for the beatification ceremony and to see the joy not just of the Oblates of Spain, but of the whole Oblate congregation, the whole Oblate family, that these men, these brothers, had been recognized as being blessed, as being intercessors for us and models for us. And I will never forget the joy and the enthusiasm of Father Joaquin. This was his moment of absolute fulfillment. But perhaps more than the canonization, the beatification ceremony, was the following day when we had a Eucharist and Father Olegario Dominguez was present and preached. He is over 100 years old at the moment. At that moment, I think he was 91 years old. And he was the last surviving oblate to have known the Spanish martyrs, these youngsters. And the testimony that he gave us was powerful, of the faith of these men, of how they lived in fear, knowing that something was going to be happening. And as he recounted his memories and knowing him as a man of deep, deep faith and a great lover of St. Eugene and of the Mazanodian charism, there was not one single dry eye in that church as we listened to the testimony of this man. That stands out for me so powerfully.
What a beautiful testimony given by Father Frank, and it was such a pleasure also to hear about Father Olegario. If you were to ask me one oblate that I would love to meet, that would be Father Olegario, listening to, from others all about him and his a great, great missionary. Coming back to the day of beatification and Diego, now, you were one of the persons that Father Frank mentioned in the video, saying that that he was inspired by you guys who were scholastics at that time, who were narrating the stories of the Spanish martyrs. Tell us your experience, and of course, and you are from Madrid itself. You are a son of the land. Tell us about your experience as a person from Madrid, Spain, and also as a scholastic, how you proceeded from the during the course of the beatification.
It was a great time for all of us. First time I heard about the martyrs, it was in 1995 during a summer camp organized by the Oblates. And one of the Oblates, who was my spiritual director, by the way, he invited us to pray to the Oblate Martyrs of Spain, although they were not beatified yet. But the province was sure about the sanctity of all of these young men. So we were, all of us, expecting that moment of the beatification for many years. And once we heard, all the scholastics, that now we will open the process of beatification, we got involved in many things, in many ways, with the process of beatification. For instance, Father Santucci showed some pictures of the house, and we created, the scholastics created some informative panels for explaining every particular corner of the house, what happened there, connected with the martyrs and the story of the martyrdom. And many people started coming, visiting the house. I remember, for instance, it was more or less in the year 2000 when in Israel some tensions appeared, political tensions, and also the danger of a war. So one seminary in the United States, instead of going to the Holy Land, as it was their custom for organizing some retreat, week or retreat, month, I do not remember, for their seminarians, they decided to come to Spain. And one part of their activities was visiting our house. So we prepared for them a tour, visiting the house with them, explaining every particular detail. After that, every year they used to come with a new group of seminarians visiting the house, and many other people, many schools and many parishes still today are visiting the house. So it was a great time for us, and we helped as much as we could in the cause, in the process of beatification, typing things, for instance, transcribing documents, taking pictures, helping as much as we could. It was a great time for all of us. Yes, I remember that time as a moment of grace for all of us.
Wow, what an experience. Imagine that you are living in the same house of those martyrs. That is amazing. That's amazing. And that's quite an experience.
And we felt that too, that we look at the walls of the room, and we knew that the scholastics, the martyrs, were living right there in that particular place I was living. This was my room, but previously it was one of the rooms of the scholasticate of the martyrs. So it was the feeling as if we were living in somehow in some kind of holy land, and we are living every day there.
That's amazing. Father Fabio, now you are somebody who had been really, really interested about the Oblate Martyrs and Martyrs of Spain in particular. I know you have been working also with the books that, as the director of Oblate Studies, you publish annually, the what you call the Studia, the books series called Studia. And I think there's one book on the great congress that probably, was it last year that we had it?
Yes, last year. Last year we had in Pozuelo, in the scholasticate, in the house of the martyrs.
Martyrs. And we had this beautiful, beautiful congress called Oblation and Martyrdom. And there is one Studia book, if you guys are interested, our viewers, exactly, that's the book on that. And then we have this second book, about which we will speak a bit later with the writer himself.
Yes. Because as you know, 9 years ago, we started a new review called Oblatio. Everybody knows this review. 3 issues each year. And each year we have a supplement, a volume of supplement. So this year is the 9th volume, Oblatio Studia. We have the pleasure to publish the biography, finally, the biography of the Oblate Martyrs of Spain. It's a great volume. It's a thick volume. but it's a great volume, not only for the pages, but for the content.
It is.
So I'm very grateful to David Lopez,
show the book,
who wrote this beautiful book.
That's beautiful. Yes. Sorry for the interruption. So all the other two were showing the book except the writer himself. So let me also show the book. Father Fabio, now speaking about the fact martyrdom and oblation, connecting that to us, oblates, the very word oblates. I mean, you have a vast knowledge about how the word came about, the oblates, to us, and what is the relationship with that word to our founder. Tell us about the Oblate Martyrs of Spain and their oblation.
Yeah, our identity is in our name, Oblates. Oblates means totally dedicated to God, to the church, to the poor. And so the word oblation is always connected in our literature, in our experiences, with the martyrdom. Saint Eugene de Mazenot wanted to become a martyr, and also Father Gerard, Father Charles Bois. Anytime that we are speaking about oblation recalled them martyrdom. And they wanted to be martyrs. I want to be a martyr. So we know what oblation means. To dedicate ourselves until the end, usque ad internitionem, say Saint Eugene de Mazenot in the Prefatio. Means just at the end, until the end. And so the real oblation, the fulfillment of the oblation, is martyrdom. We know this. The founder knew this. Father Gerard, the other oblates knew this. But nobody had, until now, the examples, the models, was a desire. We know that the summit of the higher point of the oblation is martyrdom, but we don't have models. Now, finally, we have models. And we have, thank God, many martyrs. For instance, Father Sebula is the first martyr, the first oblate martyr. And he explained us with his life one dimension of the oblation, the priestly dimension. Because he was killed because he exercised his priesthood in a heroical way. So he explained us what oblation means when we speak about priesthood. Or the Martyrs of Laos. The Martyrs of Laos, the same. They express the oblation in the mission to dedicate themselves until the end. They were killed because they were missionaries. And now we have these other martyrs, martyrs of Spain. The majority of them, they were young scholastics. So some of them, they have already made their final vows, others the first vows. And so they explain us what oblation means in the sense of giving his life to Christ, to the hands of Mary, to bear witness in the pure way to the oblation, not for the priesthood, not missionary oblation, but the oblation itself, giving his life to God. This is the specific way to live the oblation testimony by the Oblates.
That's a very beautiful explanation about oblation and martyrdom, Father Fabio. As always, your explanation is very vivid and very comprehensive. Let me also say hi to all our viewers. There are so many messages. Of course, I may not be able to reply right now to all of them. I see oblates from Latin America, like Miguel Fritz, from the US, like Salvador Chavas. Hello to you, and Jim Brooks. And I see from India, Father Francis Nalapan, from Poland, from Hi to everybody. Once again, now, speaking about this aspect of martyrdom, we are all inspired by this aspect, particularly as oblates. Father David Lopez, you have been one person who was really influenced by that. I'm sure you were inspired, and that's why you were motivated to write this great book, as we showed earlier. Of course, it's more than 700 pages. I don't know how long it took you to write it, and it's very comprehensive. Although I'm not very good in reading Spanish, well, I just went through the index and little bit of here and there. I'm sure you have put your heart and soul. Tell us, Father David, what motivated you really to undertake such a huge job?
Well, it's kind of funny story, we can say. Well, I was I work in the cause of beatification. I was a member of the commission of the Diocese of Madrid, and I'm from Pozuelo itself, which is the town of the Martyrs, where we have the scholasticate, as Father Diego said before. I also did my scholasticate there, and when I was sent to Rome to be a formator, I've been for 9 years formator at Bermicino, I used to say someone should write a book about them. Someone should do it, because it's very interesting story, And so I remember one day having dinner. Father Marino was an old formator, Marino Merlo, very known in Italy and other places also. He looked at me and said, "But David, why don't you write it? Do it yourself." And that made me think, maybe I can do it. So it took me 5 years till now. So more or less 4 years of research, and then 1 more year for corrections and so. So we can say 5 years, which is a lot of time. But I think it was needed because it's a study, very detailed, also on the context they lived. There are 23, so it's so many. That's why it's so big, because I wanted to speak a little bit about all of them, but I focus especially on 7 of them, and to write a biography, and also to speak about the situation of the community, the life of the community, because they can be, we can say they are a community that was the lived experience of martyrdom. Not only one person, but a community. And I think this is also a very important point in this Martyrs, which is also very oblate aspect. They live this experience together as community.
Yeah. We'll be speaking about that aspect of community in short as well. Thank you, David. Yeah, I mean, it's always like that. God is working in funny ways, let's say, to inspire us. And let me request you on behalf of the viewers, our readers in English, that if you could, get an oblate or somebody to translate this book in other languages, particularly in English and also in French, I think that would be a great thing. Arguably, this is the best work we have so far, isn't it, Father Fabio, on the Oblate Martyrs of Spain? This is let's say, the most comprehensive. Yeah. Now, let us speak a little bit more about these 22 people, most of them who are young, including the layperson, so 23 of them altogether. As we said at the beginning, they died for their faith. They did not give up their faith, instead of the fact that they knew giving up their faith would be able to save their lives, but they never wanted to do that. But there are other very specific features of their lives that we should speak about. Let us give word to Father Frank Santucci once again, what he thinks about the most specific features, let's say the uniqueness of the Oblate Martyrs. Let us watch these few minutes of his words.
And then, what do the martyrs mean to me? The very first thing that comes about is their age. These were youngsters. Look at the ages of these scholastics. 23, 26, 21, 23, 22 years old, 19 years old. Full of dreams of missionary zeal, of wanting to go out into the whole world. And some of them, had they lived, would probably have come to the United States and to Texas and to Mexico. Snuffed out at that young age. And then at the bottom we have one of the formators, a young oblate priest of 29 years old, who gave his life with them. Of the second group, we have a formator, a man who gave his life to these young people, not just to be a formator and a teacher, but giving his life totally with them, teaching them oblation. The third group to be put to death, the Oblate Provincial Superior and the Superior of the Scholasticate themselves. And the Provincial's words that I've written there, we know that you are killing us because we are Catholics and religious. We are. Both I and my companions forgive you. And the story is told that before they were put to death, that he asked for permission to give absolution to all those who were about to be put to death. And then this group, again youngsters, 24, 24, 26, 24, 22, 20 years old, 20, and then the baby of the group, Brother Clemente, 18 years old. They did not go out as missionaries, but as blessed, as being part of the fullness of the kingdom of heaven. They are missionaries for us today. And then I'd like to focus on a particular group that I'm surprised we have not given much focus to. These three oblates who were put to death were Oblate Brothers. They had discerned the vocation to be brothers. And Brother Angel Francisco Bocos Hernandez, at 53 years old, had been a brother for several years. And then two of the younger ones who were in formation, Marcelino Sanchez and Eleuterio Prado, youngsters who were preparing themselves for a life of brotherhood. And these three stand out for me because they are our first missionary oblate brothers who are saints. And they need to be held out as an example, as intercessors for those who experience the vocation to brotherhood in a particular way. And the last one was not an oblate, Candido Castan San Jose. He was a layman, and he was not an oblate associate. He was not involved with us at all. What brought him together into this cause was the fact that he was put to death with that first group of oblate martyrs. And so he was beatified with them. He was not an associate in the strict sense of the word, as we understand it today. But what is important in Blessed Candido's life is to show the richness of the various charisms in the church. He was a man of faith. He was the father of a family, a husband. He was a man who worked, but he was a man who worked in such a way that he wanted to bring Catholic workers to live by Catholic values. And he was executed because he was a militant Catholic. As I say, it highlights the various vocations that are present in the church. He is joined to the Oblates through this bond of blood.
Father Frank speaks about three main features. One is their age. Most of them were young, very young, I would say. The 18 years old scholastic was the youngest. And also the fact that there were three brothers, so to say, the lay brothers who committed their lives as brothers to the congregation. And also that there was a layperson among us who was very close to us. But Diego, I think we can also speak about another feature, that is the community life about them. And you being living in that place, you must have had that. You must have sensed that aspect of community. Tell us more about that aspect of their lives.
Right. Almost all of them came from just one community. And then we have the provincial, Father Francisco Esteban Lacal, who is the main one among them, no, in the group. Officially, their name is the Blessed Francisco Esteban Lacal and Companions. But the others belong to just one community. So we can see what is a community life when we look at them, what will be. And we see the superior, we see the formators, we see the brothers, as Frank Santucci underlined, and we see the scholastics, those information. So yes, we can see that the whole congregation somehow is represented in them, in this particular community. The community life was so regular, so normal in our congregation, at least for houses information. They had their lessons in their own house. They went to the parishes around to provide some help, singing, for instance, during the masses and the main celebrations, solemnities, and so. So they were known because of their regularity. All people in town knew that there was a convent there was a religious house of the Oblates, and that they helped the others. And that first of all, their main role was just providing good formation to the students coming there. So the life of prayer was so important for them. The help to the parishes was important for them, and the activities, the studies was important for them. Besides this, they tried also to develop their own skills and talents. For instance, they wrote some poetry, or some of them performed some performances of theater, or they were interested in different other issues for children in the schools, giving some performances for the children. So every one of them tried also to join to we could say today a workshop or a circle of interest. They said in that time, circle of interest, missions. One group of the scholastics gathered together each week in order to discuss about mission, what will be missionary life, to learn more about missions. The other one about arts and about, as I told you, poetry and literacy, and so. They developed many different activities, but let us say nothing special, just the regular life of a community life. And not only their life, but their die is a witness for us about community life. They died together. We have one group at the beginning, 24th of July, of 7 oblates that died together. We have another big group that died, was killed 28th of November. We have there 13 oblates. With the first group, the layman, Candido Castan. In between, we have 2 that, unfortunately, they had to die alone, but they somehow feel the spiritual communion with the other brothers. For instance, one of these 2, the scholastic one, was kept to be killed. He managed to escape for a minute, for a while, and to go to the cell of another oblate who was priest there in order to say, they took me, they will kill me, give me the absolution. So he knew very well where the oblate was, and he ran to this oblate in order to receive absolution. They always were together. When after the first group was killed, the others were put in freedom, and so-called freedom, because they received no papers, no documents, no possibility for moving from one city to another. If you don't have your ID or your permission, you cannot go to other city. Officially, you cannot live there even. So they try to hide, and they hide in different groups. They always stay together. And that's a very wonderful witness about community life. They lived, before the persecution, they lived as a community. During the persecution, they suffered the persecution as a community, and they died also as a community. And that's a wonderful witness.
That's wonderful, as you said, definitely wonderful. And you know what, I personally, what I feel is, because all my oblate life, I was in communities. I was never in a parish, so to say, alone. And community is our life. And I can't imagine a life without a community in that sense of the word. But I think there is one more aspect that we should not forget, that is about the gentleman, our lay person, Castan. And of course, yes, as Father Frank mentioned, he is not an oblate associate in the true sense of the word, but of course he was connected to us. Father Fabio, what inspiration can we, and also our friends, our lay people of the Mesonodian family, our oblate family, what inspiration that they can get from a character like him?
I'm struck by two things that may seem contradictory. On the one hand, Candido Castan, it was very attached to the Oblates. Even though he was not linked with a special bond with the Oblates, anyway, he was part of the family. And on the other hand, he carries out a job, his initiative, even pastoral initiatives, very independently of the Oblates. So I believe that this can be a great inspiration for our lay Oblates. They are deeply linked with us, the Oblates, but they are not in the service of us, the Oblates. They are in the service of the Oblate charism, in the service of the mission. Therefore, I guess that a deep bond with the Oblates family is required by the lay people. At the same time, is required a great creativity and initiatives in bringing the Oblates ideal into their world. They cannot be a bad copy of the Oblates. They live with us in the same family, but they have to work in different way. They are to bring the gospel, the Oblate charism, in their families, in the factories, in the social affairs, with their way, in a different way. So together we can work for the same mission, but in different way.
Yes, Father David, the last point that Father Fabio was trying to tell us about the social aspect of his life. He was kind of a social worker. Can I name him a social worker? What do you think?
Well, not exactly a social worker as we know today. I mean, for me, I can say I discovered Candido Castan in a way while I was writing the book, but because he was not very well known. He mainly worked all his life with the labor unions, Catholic labor unions. So for the justice of the workers, he worked on the railway, and that was his job. It's a simple job. It's the person that collect the tickets in the train. That was his job. Simple. But he, since he was very, very young, he really worked a lot with these labor unions. in a Catholic spirit. So we can say a social worker in the sense of a person with deep faith that understood the Catholics, Christian people have to do something for society, for the common good. And he really spent all his life on that. He also worked in the city of Madrid, and he once could speak to the Congress in Spain. Well, we can say the Congress at that time, more or less. And he did a very, very good speech to try to defend the workers that work on the mines, the coal mines, because it was a very hard work. And he said they have to work less hours for day, which is a very concrete thing, but he really fight for that. And it was very interesting that the Catholics and the left-wing labor unions in this topic, they agree. So he's very, very interesting man, really. Also
Yes.
a man of prayer. He went every day after the work, he went to church every day to pray in the tabernacle. And
That's
he
amazing.
prayed there every day. He searched always a place to do his time of prayer. Very interesting, this
That's
man.
amazing. Let me so I'm tempted to call him an oblate in spirit, So our oblate associates of the greater oblate family, the de Mazenodian family. So this character is a gift to you all as well. Coming back to the oblate martyrs, we are slowly heading towards the last phase of our discussion. Coming back to the oblate martyrs, of course, one can say they died 1936. 84 years ago. Oblate martyrs of Laos died in 1950s, 60s, long time ago. But let us speak about today. What inspiration can we draw from these oblate martyrs, especially of the Spain that we speak today, to our context today? Our context, someone can say it is different. There's nothing we can talk about it. No, there is. Let me start with you once again, David. What do you draw from them for your life and for us as Oblates today?
Well, I can say I myself, I learn many things from them. They speak to me, and I think they can speak to others. First of all, to the Oblates themselves. We are talking about the community of formation, so formators, for example, the superior, Father Vicente Blanco, he was a formator all his life, with the minor seminary first, then master of novices, then superior of scholasticate, and then he was killed. So he didn't do anything other than being a formator. He was also treasurer for the province, so that also. But he really is an inspiration for formators, I think. I myself I've been a formator myself. Then, of course, the scholastics, they are the main inspiration for young oblates in formation, their problems with their families in those difficult times. We have context now also in some places, for example, here in Europe, Western Europe or other places, the families don't want their children to become religious or priest, or they have difficulties on that. Also, these martyrs had the same kind of difficulties. Of course, the context was different, but many things are not different. They are the same. For young people, I think they can be an inspiration. Most of them were very young, 18 years old, 20 years old, 23 years old. Some people of that age, they told me, wow, this at my age. And he was able to give his life with this courage, and he could escape from death if they say, I don't believe in God, that was all they needed. They were able to go free, but no one did that. All of them say, no, we are Christians, we are religious. We cannot deny what we believe. So I think this is a great testimony. Even in our times, which being a believer sometimes is not easy, and so many contests, also contests where the Christians are in minority with other religions, but also secularized contests. I think they really can inspire us in our times also. Yes.
Certainly they do. Father Fabio, your idea about it, how can they be applied to our context today?
Perhaps they can help us to understand that only together we can face life's challenges and trials. They used to support each other during the persecution. Say, don't give up. Let us remain faithful to our oblation. So it was very important. They cannot go to the martyrdom alone. Who knows if alone they would have the strength to remain faithful to the gospel. Their unity, their community, their communion among themselves, the sharing of their faith helped them to be faithful to the gospel until the end. So far for us, even us, we cannot cope with the difficulties alone. We are defeated. We will be stronger if we are united, if we share the difficulties, joys. I think this is the great lesson that can give us.
Certainly, being united, unity is strength. And Father Frank Santucci also had his own idea about how can these great people could be applied to our context. Let us listen to him as well for a couple of minutes.
And finally, which sums up what all this means to me, from the postulation of the cause, these words. It is believed that they died professing their faith and forgiving their executioners. We do know that none of the 22 Oblates, despite the psychological torture during their cruel captivity, was an apostate, nor denied his faith, nor denied having embraced his religious vocation. For this reason, their families, their brother Oblates, and the Christian people, knowing their faithfulness until death, have unanimously held them to be martyrs from the first instance. And that's what the Spanish martyrs mean to me. That each one of them, from the moment that they were arrested, and some of them had to wait several months until they were put to death, they remained faithful. They knew what was going to happen to them, but they were focused. And they teach me about the charism of St. Eugene. St. Eugene himself longed for martyrdom. He never was able to give his life by shedding his blood, but he gave his life as a missionary. And how joyful he must have been on the day of the beatification of his sons to see that they had understood the full power of oblation. For me, this group of martyrs is a stronghold, particularly in these days of the pandemic, these days where we see so much suffering around us. And the only thing that kept them going was their focus on Jesus Christ, the Savior. And they teach us that the only thing that can keep us going through these difficult days is that same focus in the Jesus who will never abandon us. And not only are they models, but every single one of them is an intercessor for us. They are present in the communion of the Mazanodian family saints. And that's what it all means to me.
Yes, definitely. Father Frank Santucci's words on the Oblates, Oblate Martyrs is really inspiring, as he spoke not only as an oblate but also as the former postulator. Let us turn our focus to the present postulator, Father Diego. Now we know a cause of canonization doesn't end with the beatification. These great men are to be recognized yet, yet to be recognized as saints. Now, what can you tell us about the present situation of the canonization process?
Right. The process itself will finish with the canonization. Every process is called process of beatification and canonization. This is the official title. We could say that the beatification is just a permission of the church. You can start now giving some kind of worship at least one day a year. I mean, the feast or the memorial of the martyrs is 28th of November. And the church said, okay, while you are waiting for the canonization, you can start by giving a limited worship to them, to venerate them as blessed, but just one day. So the task we have now before us is to accomplish the cause. For this, just one thing is required: a miracle. We have to present a miracle to the congregation for the causes of saints, a documented miracle. I mean, if it is a case of healing, someone who was healed, so we need to present all the tests, for instance, the analysis or the other procedures in the hospital to prove that something that the science cannot explain happened. And we believe that it was through the intercession of the martyrs. That's the only thing that prevents us from the canonization. And we are waiting for a miracle to present this case to the congregation of the for the causes of saints, and then they will be canonized. The case will be studied by different doctors or specialists, and then by theologians, and the Holy Father will, at the end, will eventually approve the miracle, and then they will be canonized. So what we will need now to do is to pray for them, but people will not pray for them if they do not know them. And they will not know the Oblate Martyrs if Oblates do not speak about them. So the second task comes here, is to animate people, to make a work of animation, to inform people about the life, the example, and the power of the intercession of the Oblate Martyrs. Then the miracle will arrive, I'm sure of that. This book, the book Father David wrote now, I think it's perfect for have a good knowledge about circumstances of the martyrdom of these people. And it is good also for one of the dreams of our Superior General, Father Lugan, who wants to know better each single character, each single martyr. We speak of them about a group, and that's true. They died as community, but each one of them had a personal story, a personal relationship with God that led them to the martyrdom. And thanks to this personal story with God, they could be faithful to God till the end. So one of the dreams of our Superior General is to present this personal relationship of each one of them, this personal path towards sanctity of each one of them. And this book helps us also, because Father David, of course, he cannot present the story of each one of the 23 martyrs, but at least he presents some of them deeply, and then he presents some of the elements to understand more the circumstances of the other martyrs. So that's good. My hope is that if there is someone who is watching this video now and he falls in love with the martyrs, that he could take this book and the task of making a good translation of the book, because it is really, really, really good. Or at least just small informative materials. This is the task of the postulation for the next years regarding the cause of the martyrs, the Spanish martyrs.
So you heard, my dear Oblates, Oblate associates, friends of Oblates, we need to pray. We need to pray for a miracle. We need to feel their presence among us, these great martyrs. So we are coming to, we have reached the end of this particular program. We are exactly 1 hour from our broadcast. So thank you very much. Thank you, Father Fabio, Father Diego, Father David, and let us say thank you also to Father Frank, who could not join us live, but of course he is present with us at any time that we ask him to be, and he was kind enough to speak to us in this manner. And thank you also to our viewers. There are so many comments, replies, appreciations. Thank you very much. I counted and I just watched their names, most of them whom I know, at least online as Facebook friends. They are from around the world, from each and every continent. And I saw Father Chicho has commented, don't forget Africa. We are from Sahara. We are connected to you. So thank you every one of you. And a special thanks also to Angelica Ciccone, the communications director of the Mediterranean province, because she's the one who is really handling the technical stuff of this. She is behind the scene. So thank you, Angelica, as well. And yes, so this book is I would say one of a kind, and this is to be recognized. And I heard there is an Italian translation coming up pretty soon, probably a simplified version, and I'm sure there'll be many more translations to come. And we thank especially for Father Diego for organizing this event to present this book as well. And also let us end with this word, because whenever we speak of Spanish Oblates or the martyrs, we cannot forget this word: Viva Cristo Rey. And thank you once again. Watch the videos of the Oblate Martyrs. Read the books. There are simplified versions. Read the Oblate Heritage, and let us be connected once again on another occasion of another video of this sort. And thank you. May you have a blessed Christmas and a blessed Advent season. God bless you all.
Thank you, Chanel.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.